In the thunderous arena of the National Debate Championship, one boy stood as a silent enigma. His name was Marcus, and to his peers, he was the boy who never spoke, the easy target, the guaranteed win. As he approached the podium, a wave of whispers and stifled laughter rippled through the auditorium. His opponent, a charismatic and popular speaker named Leo, flashed a confident, almost predatory grin. The topic for the final round was announced: the future of communication. It was a subject that seemed tailor-made for a showman like Leo, and a death sentence for the boy who communicated with silence. The lights dimmed, and the spotlight fell on Leo. He launched into his speech with the force of a hurricane. His words were sharp, his gestures grand, his delivery a masterclass in aggressive rhetoric. He painted a future dominated by the bold and the loud, a world where influence was seized by those who could command attention with their voice. Then, with a theatrical turn, he gestured toward Marcus. "And what of those who remain silent?" he boomed, his voice dripping with condescension. "Does their silence signify deep thought, or simply an empty mind? I posit it is the latter. In the race for the future, the silent are not just left behind, they are willingly surrendering." The crowd ate it up, laughing and applauding Leo's audacious jab. Throughout the verbal assault, Marcus stood motionless. His face was a placid lake, betraying no ripple of anger, no hint of humiliation. He just watched, his eyes fixed on Leo, absorbing every word, every gesture, every nuance of the performance. The moderator, looking a bit uncomfortable, finally called Leo's time. All eyes then shifted to Marcus. The silence in the hall was now expectant, heavy with a mix of pity and morbid curiosity. What could the silent boy possibly say? "Mr. Hayes," the moderator said, "you have the floor." Marcus didn't move. He didn't speak. He just stood there. 10 seconds passed. The whispers started again. 20 seconds. A few people coughed nervously. 30 seconds. The tension was becoming unbearable. People shifted in their seats. Even Leo, who had been basking in his own glory, started to look confused, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. 45 seconds. The judges exchanged worried glances. Was he forfeiting? Was this some kind of protest? A full minute of deafening, agonizing silence hung in the air. The entire room, the entire nation watching live, was held captive by one boy's refusal to speak. And then, it happened. A took a soft, deliberate breath, and a voice, clear and resonant, filled every corner of the vast auditorium. It wasn't loud, but it had a weight, a gravity that instantly commanded absolute attention. "My opponent," Marcus began, his tone calm and measured, "has painted a very vivid, a very loud picture of the future. A future where we all scream to be heard, where the value of a thought is measured in decibels. He argues that silence is surrender. I argue that silence is where true communication begins." He paused, letting his words sink in. "For the past 10 minutes, you've heard a great deal of noise. But did you listen, or were you merely entertained? My opponent speaks of the future, but his method is a relic of the past, a battle of egos, not ideas. He mistakes volume for value, and aggression for intellect." Marcus's eyes swept across the audience, meeting the gaze of 100 different people. "He mocks my silence, but in my silence, I was not surrendering. I was listening. I listened to his arguments, to the cadence of his voice, to the applause of the crowd. I listened to the unspoken assumptions in his speech. That, to be quiet, is to be weak. That to listen is to be passive. And I have found his entire premise lacking." He took a step forward, his presence growing with every word. "The future of communication will not be won by those who shout the loudest. It will be shaped by those who listen the most deeply. It'll belong to those who can hear the nuance in a conversation, who can understand the meaning behind the words, and who can find the truth in the silence. We are drowning in a sea of information, an ocean of noise. What we desperately need is not more speakers, but more listeners. People who can filter, who can comprehend, who can connect." My opponent asked if my silence signifies an empty mind. Marcus continued, his voice rising with controlled power. "I ask all of you, in this age of constant chatter, digital shouting, and endless monologues, When was the last time you truly listened? Listened to someone without planning your rebuttal. Listened to the world around you. Listened to the quiet voice within yourself. He looked directly at Leo, who now stood pale and utterly disarmed. You filled the air with words, but you said nothing. My silence created a space. A space for thought. A space for tension, yes, but also a space for anticipation. A space where, for a single minute, everyone in this room and everyone watching at home was united in one single act. Listening. Waiting. You commanded their attention. My silence earned it. For his final statement, Marcus's voice softened, becoming almost intimate, drawing everyone in. The most profound conversations I have ever had were not spoken. The deepest connections are forged, not in what we say, but in our shared understanding. The future is not a shouting match. It is a dialogue, and a true dialogue cannot exist without the power, the grace, and the profound intelligence of listening. He finished. Silence. Not the tense, uncomfortable silence from before, but a deep, stunned, and reverent silence. It held for a beat, a collective breath held by an entire nation, and then it broke. One person stood up, clapping, then another, and another, until the entire auditorium was on its feet. The applause was not just loud, it was explosive, a roar of validation and awe. The sound was deafening, a tidal wave of respect for the boy who had weaponized silence and championed the art of listening. As the standing ovation continued, Marcus simply gave a slight, dignified nod. He turned and walked off the stage, not with arrogance, but with a quiet confidence he had always possessed, but that the world was only now seeing. He didn't need a trophy to declare him the winner. In that moment, Marcus, the silent boy, had left an entire country speechless, forever changing their definition of what it means to have a voice. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that challenges the way we see the world.